Greetings, welcome. We have a special guest today, so I am going to wait and connect with Diane at Blue Dot Sews. So I'm excited, and I know I say that every time. Welcome. I know I say that every time I go live and I have a special guest, so I am super excited today. We have a special guest, Diane with Blue Dot Sews, and I am waiting to connect with her. So as soon as she joins, we're gonna talk about some fun stuff today. So be waiting. I'm waiting. Yay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, she's still not on yet. Hello. Hi, Sue. Hey, On. Hi, Isabel. Welcome. Hi, Carrie. Yay. We're excited today. I'm excited. Just waiting for Diane to join us, and I'm gonna connect us. I was mentioning earlier that I have a special guest coming on, Diane with Blue Dot Sews. There she is. Okay, Diane, I'm gonna connect us. All right. Yay. Hello.
Hey,
How are you today?
I am doing well, and how are you?
I'm doing good. So before I start, I just want to welcome all our guests joining us live. Thank you everyone for joining us today. I have a special guest, Diane with Blue Dot Sews, joining me today. I do come on every Friday at 1 o'clock just to check up on everyone, making sure everyone's doing okay. And I try to bring our creative community together, as well as give a status on a current project. But the last Friday of every month, I invite someone special that I know will inspire you and encourage you, especially during this time. So today I have Diane with Blue Dot Sews. So thank you for joining us today, Diane.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's nice to finally, well, I lay eyes on you every Friday, and I have been joining you, and it has been really nice and
Yeah.
support. I just have to thank you. So
Oh,
it, and I'm happy to be here.
thank you. Thank you for letting me know that, because sometimes I feel like I'm talking to myself. But all right. Well, before we go into all the good stuff, I wanted to give people a background on how we got connected. Because today is the first time I get to finally meet and talk to you face to face,
Mhm.
and you're so lovely.
Oh,
It's so nice.
you guys already knew that.
We got connected because a couple of months, maybe 3 to 4 months ago, I was sharing with Carrie how I'm interested in learning pattern making because I have been modifying modifying and creating my own patterns. And Carrie's like, you need to connect with Diane. And so I'm glad that we got to connect, and we've been connecting through live as well as DM. So I am grateful for Carrie and for her to connect us to learn more about pattern making today. So that is what we're going to talk about. We are going to be talking about design and pattern making. And if you don't mind, before you get into that stuff, tell us a little bit about you, because I'm sure everybody wants to know a little bit about you. So
Well, I'm Diane Reeve Snyder. I'm a sewing pattern designer. I design women's patterns. I live in Southern California, in Orange County, in Orange, as a matter of fact. And I'm married. My husband's an artist. He's a abstract painter, actually. And we have two kids. Our daughter, she's 23, and our son, he's 20. And everybody's home right now, which a lot of people have everybody home right now, but it really is a blessing.
since you're both, oh, thank you, Carrie. Lynn, what Carrie Kim said. Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm going to try to read your comments as we're sharing. So,
Be
so
helpful,
I'll,
all new to me, so I don't want to miss something that I should be missing.
don't worry, I'll be reading it to you,
Okay.
Diane. Okay.
Okay.
And
So
okay. So do you have any other hobbies besides sewing?
I do. Yes, I love to read.
Oh,
I read quite a bit, and I do love to be outside. So right now, mostly it's out in the backyard, but I still love it. So yeah, I read
I
quite a bit. Not sewing. Sew quite a bit of the time.
yeah, I do. I love being outside as well. All right, so give us a little bit of history on how you started sewing. How did you get into sewing?
Well, I started sewing really because of my mom. When I was little, she would take me to this fabric store. We had a fabric store in a pink building where I grew up, which when you're a little girl, a pink building is so magical anyway. So she would take me there, and I just loved it. So early on, I loved the fabrics and the process and going to the fabric store, which my kids never loved going to the fabric store, and maybe yours don't either.
She's a great cook too, says Lynn.
Oh, very sweet. Yes, I do love to cook and bake. So it was really my mom, and my mom was very supportive. She let me dig through her stash and make little stuff. She let me use her machine, and I just tinkered around. And come junior high, I would say, I started making my clothes. And in high school, I made a few more things. I probably made quite a bit, which I was in the 80s in high school. And you know, the clothes in the 80s, and then they were handmade. So I can't imagine what they must have looked like, but I had fun doing it. And I still had friends, even though I had my handmade 80s clothes. But that's really
I'm
how it.
sure it looked cool. I'm sure
Um,
it looked cool.
you can ask Carrie Kim. She was there.
That's right. You guys are childhood friends.
Our childhood friends. Yep.
Okay, so then how did you get into, with the sewing process, how did you get into pattern making?
Yeah, so once the sewing thing started, it never really ended.
Mhm.
So I went to college. My degree is actually in economics, and I worked in banking, but I also went back to school and got some fashion classes in. So I got flat pattern, draping, illustration, textiles, all the good basic stuff just because I loved it so much. And it was really good for me to have that background. But I also realized that at my core, I'm a maker.
Yeah.
Some people in school, they wanted to draw and just make things come to life on paper. And I was very interested in making things.
First day of school, 80s outfits. Carrie Kim, she commented. Hello, everyone who just joined. Welcome. So once you started learning, you just kept on going, it sounded like. So you
Yeah.
just kept on making and creating.
Yeah, I always, when I worked corporate jobs, I made my suits. And then we started having kids, so I stayed home with our kids. And I still continued sewing all different sorts of things, sometimes quilts, because that was easier with kids.
Mhm.
Um, I still sewed clothes. I sewed just about anything.
Anything and everything, huh?
hmm
So then how did you start? So you were making patterns for the clothes that you were sewing for yourself. And
hmm
then now it led to creating your own pattern line, sewing pattern line. How did
Yes,
that come about?
yeah, that happened in a pretty organic way. When our kids got older, I went back to work as a sewing teacher. So who would have thought I would ever be a teacher? But I went back and did that. I loved that. And I was teaching garment sewing at a local store here. And I realized that one of the biggest barriers to learning how to sew, actually the biggest barrier to learning how to garment sew is our bodies. Oh
Mm.
gosh.
We're
We are
also unique. We're also
hard
unique.
and we're hard on ourselves. So I'd have to say that's a big barrier. But aside from that, the instructions in the patterns were really hard for people to get used to. And after a few years, I realized I think I can write a pattern that reads in a friendlier way. And so I just started to write them really with my students in mind. that's really how it came to be. I wanted to design patterns that my students could be successful at, that were friendly and easy to read. And since patterns and sewing is expensive, I wanted to be people to be able to use them over and over. Like you use your patterns over and over. You just switch them around a little bit, and pretty soon a basic top has turned into your adorable halter. So I
Yeah.
build patterns that they could use over and over again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you regarding my top. And
I love
I'm sure I'm sure your students appreciate how you simplified it for them. And, and they,
Yeah, I I think so, but more than anything, they probably helped me.
yeah. And
Yeah.
how?
Um, I could just see what they had problems with. And I could find over time, I taught for a long time. So over time I realized how I could explain it better when I was failing to get the point across, how I could better get it across. So, and you can hear what their needs are. They just want to make a simple top, or I want to make pajama bottoms or pants that aren't super baggy like all the patterns are. So they really helped me. They inspired me. They inspire me in so many ways, just not for patterns, how sewing people are.
Yeah, I know. I love our sewing community. We just, we're very encouraging and we don't hesitate to help each other. So they help you grow as well and
They
expanded
did.
your knowledge and your skills as well. So,
Hmm.
wow, what an experience. So
Oh,
it's kind of like, I'm sorry, what was that?
it was a great experience teaching sewing.
Yeah, it sounded like that. Yeah. Um, okay, so how is your whole design process from the beginning to the pattern making? How do you get your inspiration? Where do you get your inspiration for, your designs to,
Well,
um,
primarily, I would say they're selfish, and that I find I have a hole in my closet, or I can't find a pattern.
Harry says sewing community is awesome.
It's so
Yeah.
true. And even our virtual community, or especially our virtual community, I think it's been big. It's been big in my life. So, and especially now. I agree, Carrie. So it'll usually come from a need I have in my closet, or something maybe even that I saw my students needed. And so it was really pretty close to home. So they start that way. I also keep, lots of inspiration. I got a board here. I keep a lot of
Oh,
inspiration close there.
oh
Um,
wow. So you
that,
put pictures and color
mhm. Yeah,
and
maybe we
fabric. Oh,
put.
you're so organized. Look at that.
Oh, am
Look at that.
I? And then my friend, she's always
Yeah.
keep her dressed up nice. So it really starts with that, and I draft my patterns by hand on blue dot paper, so the classic dot cross paper, and really that's what the name comes from the blue dot classic pattern paper. So I'm old school that way. I'll draft it or drape it, and I'll make it, and I'll wear it a lot, and make sure.
Question. Do you think, oh, it just popped. Hold on. Let me see if I can. Do you think COVID got more people into sewing because people are sewing masks?
Yeah, I think that's a great first project. And oh, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it inspired people.
I
Hmm.
think it did as well because I've seen a lot of new beginners, come online and search for,
And there's good support out there for newbies, and some free support too. So yeah, I'm sure it has. Yep.
what a great board.
Uh, I like my board. My ironing board sits in front of here normally. I am sitting on a stool right now, but so I look at it quite a bit.
Yeah. Is that the new ironing board station that you set up that you mentioned,
Yeah,
Mom?
I iron sitting down.
Yeah.
So now I do, yeah. So I have a nice little station, but I moved the iron out of the way so I could sit this direction. So,
So your inspiration, does it come from magazines or is that printouts or
these are mostly catalogs. Some of these pictures are old, but things that still speak to me. Probably what I have right here. These are needle guides for sewing needles. So there's some sewing information. I always have the Pantone. Um, I always have Pantone up there. I love looking up the colors. You can see up there. So yeah, I got and patterns I want to make. I got a lot of stuff up there. Not as much time as I'd like to make all the stuff up here, but it's fun.
true? We never have enough time.
Yeah, fun to look at.
We just have to make it.
You have to make something.
Yep. So
Yeah.
then what, from the beginning to end,
I'm doing it. I draft it, I wear it. I wear it a lot to see if it fills the need, fits right, tweak it, do that for a long time. When I know I like it, I digitize it. So I actually put the shape into Illustrator,
okay.
Adobe Illustrator, and then I print it out and work with it again, make it, wear it, I test it, I make it a lot of times. And when I'm happy with it, I'll put it in Illustrator, grade it, and write instructions. I'm making it sound quick. It takes a long time, but I write the whole thing. And usually I have this best friend that's a copy editor. So a lot of times she'll peek at it for me and help me. And then I do the testing process. Now the testing process for me is the most important, I would say, and the hardest and the most exciting.
Okay.
So I do a call for testers right there on Instagram and Facebook. And ask for anybody who wants to try. I make sure that every size is tested on the pattern. Every view is tested, covered. And I also like different skill levels. So I do encourage beginners to apply because I want to make sure it's friendly for not just those people who know how to test patterns and know how to sew really well, but for someone who's new. So I do like this skill level range, and you would be surprised how generous people are. I don't pay them, and they're so generous, and they give me input, and I use all of their input. I revise the pattern, and then I put it out. That's kind of how it works.
So for all of the newbies in the sewing community, make sure you follow Diane with Blue Dot Sews. She's going to need your input and, as well as, for you to check out her patterns and test it. So all the newbies as well as the experienced, make sure to follow Diane with Blue Dot Sews.
These do.
Yes. Yes. As you mentioned earlier, it's a long process, really, to go from On is raising her hand, to go from the design, the idea, the inspiration, all the way to the creating of your patterns. What keeps you motivated to complete a project because of the time frame, the patience that it takes? What keeps you motivated to complete a project?
That's a great question. And I have to say, I have to set a release date for myself. And it's usually, I give myself 3 to 4 months from the time I actually make the top or dress or whatever I'm working on, from I make it and I know I like it. I'll set a date 3 to 4 months from that day, and then I back in all my dates and all my deadlines. So that's really, first of all, I make sure it should be pattern. And then I set the date. So I would say it's a date.
Okay, so the date kind of pushes you to complete it. Yeah, same.
I've worn it and I know it really works. I want to get it out there. So I know if I want to work that hard on it, that it's going to be worth it. So
that's how you test a pattern, is that you wear it, it's comfortable, it functions for you. So, okay. So do you have your favorite patterns on hand so that you can share with us some of your favorite patterns, and where can we get them? Where can we purchase them?
You're gonna make me pick my favorite baby.
Okay.
But well, I have Margot here. This is Margot, my Margot blouse.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say that blouse is probably one of my favorites. It has a yoke, has sort of a bohemian feel, but a very classic neckline. I do like classic pieces, so I feel a lot like myself when I wear a Margot blouse. So I do love the Margot blouse. It looks difficult. It's really easy. It has an easy construction. So you can still learn on it, but if you're a beginner, you can definitely get through it. So I love the Margot. And I also love my latest pattern. I've made it so much. It's the Morrison top and dress. Oh, I'm wearing Morrison right now.
Show it off. Show it off. Give us the special details on the Morrison.
So Morrison, it started really, has pleats, simple neckline. This is a pebble crepe that I made it in, but it has a view where you can make it in knit.
Mm-hmm.
Too, so you can make it in woven or knit. It's flexible that way. It feels like it can feel like a t-shirt but elevated. Or it really started because I wanted a simple silk shell that I could wear. So really the original idea was that, and then turned it into where, oh, it's also a really cute striped t-shirt if you want it to be. So yeah, so those are probably Morrison because it was just released and it's fresh on my mind. I, of course, released it a week before COVID. You can't know that these things are going to happen, but yeah, I'm still enjoying making this.
Yeah, pattern. I noticed that what you create, your pattern, you create in so many different ways. I mean, it's the same pattern but different fabrics, but it looks totally different. So once you get your favorite pattern.
I hope people do that with my patterns. I don't find it that I love when people change them. And even my testers will come back and say, hey, can I, hack it and do something else? And I'll say, please, I'd love to see what you do. Or people, my girlfriend put gathers here or, made it a maxi dress, whatever you want to do, please do it. Yeah. And I turned it into part of a faux jumpsuit. Everybody I love when people change what I make. That's what sewing is about.
It is, you're right. I have a question. Is that Margot blouse in the back, is that the one that you made the inspiration for maybe a garden dress? Is that the same?
Blouse is the pattern I use because you talked about having a gardening dress. I see it.
Yes.
Let me pull this.
It was super cute. It was super cute.
Yeah, so Margot looks like this. Yeah. Simple yoke. It also comes with a 3/4 sleeve, which is what we have. This lady right here, she wears that. What I did was I kept the sleeves off and brought the hem down about 20 inches. And I made a little summer gardening dress out of linen. I wear it. It was
so pretty. It was so pretty.
And I'll be wearing it over the next couple days because it's hitting 95.
Yeah. So I'm hoping to make it one day as well. I'm going to have to talk to my stylist. Yes. So where can we buy your patterns? Because your goal for your patterns is to have it simple enough for beginners to sew as well. To have a base pattern where they can modify it and change up the looks. And make sure it's comfortable. So where can they, for all those out there, where can they purchase your patterns at?
You can buy them on my website at blue.patterns.com. Mm-hmm. I also have an Etsy store. They're available on Foldline, which is a British company that handles indie pattern lines, all patterns actually. There's a new company that started handling them called indiepatterns.com.
Okay.
Where else? Makerist, I'm on. A couple other places, but they're out there. But hit the website, and I have tutorials on the website at blue-patterns.com. So there's tutorials and ideas and a blog and all sorts of stuff on there to help support you.
Yeah, yeah. You have all these different resources just to get guidance. So, and if there's ever any questions, they can also, you know, get in contact with you directly.
You can. There's a place right there. You can join a newsletter I have, but you can also directly email me. So if you have any questions.
So do you create the patterns from your studio and send them out, or do you outsource that?
It's done here, right here with me drafting, and on my computer with Adobe Illustrator. I have on one occasion, a couple of occasions, sent pieces to be graded. But normally I like to do the grading here because I still like to tweak it after, you know, sometimes they need a little tweaking when they're graded.
So everyone go support Diane at Blue Dot Sews. I love small businesses, especially the makers. So make sure you guys go and support her and check out her online shops. So make sure to check her out on the blog as well. And do you have any tips for me? Because like how we got connected was because I was interested in exploring pattern making. Do you have any tips for those that would like to learn more about that?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, figure out what are you good at? What part of this process are you really good at? Because you're probably not going to be, anyone's not going to be good at the entire process, but what part are you really good at? Set a vision for yourself. What's your vision? For me, it's to inspire others through my love of sewing. And set a mission. For me, I want to do just that through well-crafted design and friendly patterns. So have a vision and a mission, and probably the absolute best thing you could do is do it. Because sometimes we talk ourselves out of it. And I think it's good to do it. Maybe even if you or another designer, you're afraid, actually go through the process. Have a design, set yourself maybe a date, or whatever accountability works for you. Set a date, design it, write the instructions. And the whole time, think about who your customer is. You know, my customer, I want them to be successful. So I think about it the whole time. How can I make this easy enough and flexible enough that they can be successful at the end? So I would say, actually, the number one thing is do it. Try it. You got to jump in.
You're right. I am intimidated. Excuse me. I am intimidated by the whole idea. I modified the patterns, but I think the grading part is very intimidating. You know.
You can have the grading done.
Yeah.
You can definitely have, you know, you're going to have your things you're really good at. You have a beautiful eye for design. Maybe that's the thing. And silhouettes and fashion and how to put that all together so someone can make that. Maybe that's going to be your strong point. And really start with that and find a grader. There are graders out there. You don't have to be able to do every single thing.
You're right. You're right.
You got to try. If I can help you in any way, I will.
Well, thank you. ATVU, is it normal to create your own garments from scratch?
Is it normal? I mean, I do create some of my stuff from my own pattern, so drafting a pattern, but usually I still love using other people's patterns. Yeah. I'm a real sewing nerd, so I'll use my own pattern, I'll modify someone else's pattern, I'll use someone's pattern just like it comes. Yep, I'll do it all. So it's all normal to me, I guess, to answer the question.
Greetings, So Doyle. Yes, if anyone that's new that just joined, I have a special guest, Diane with Blue Dot Sews, on today, and she is sharing about her design process and pattern making. So we are, she was just sharing about, is it normal to create your own garments from scratch? Hi. All right. So I am excited because, you know, I finally do get to meet you face to face today. And I got to read your blog on your journey and your challenges that you were faced with. And I'm always amazed by people that go through such, you know, difficult challenges, but find a way to get through. And I thought you would be the perfect person to share about your, you know, share your story, especially during this COVID event with everyone, with a lot of people going through struggles. So I thought your story would be very encouraging. And if you don't mind sharing your journey with us.
Of course, yeah. Well, I have to start by saying we all have our struggles. I mean, everyone does. And I think especially now, you're right. This is a struggle for a lot of us in so many ways. I shared earlier, I love having my kids home, and there are parts of it that have been really good for me, but I know for people, even right now, is a real struggle. But for me, I told you I was a sewing teacher and a pattern designer. I was also an avid runner, and that you may or may not have known, and a very active person. And I started getting some strange neurological symptoms probably 3 years ago, a little more than 3 years ago. Started with double vision. I got Bell's palsy, weakness in my legs, and I started getting slurred speech or unusual kind of speech, and it was getting in the way of my running. I was still trying to run quite a bit, and it was actually getting pretty scary. My family, my friends were starting to notice, and it was really taking its toll on me. After a long search that we don't even need to talk about, but probably about 18 months, a doctor, after many, found that I had Lyme disease. And we hear a lot about that right now in the news. But at the time, I was shocked because some of the doctors I had seen said it couldn't be Lyme disease. We don't have it here in California, which it's just not true, and everyone should know that. But I was grateful that she found out what it was, and grateful that there could be a treatment to try to gain control of my life and my body, because I felt quite out of control by that time. At the same time I was diagnosed, it was a jumble of feelings because I was happy they had an answer, but I also was taking care of my mom. My mom had pancreatic cancer. And so I put off treatment, and after I said goodbye to her, we decided to start the treatment. And I was feeling hopeful. And a couple weeks in, I had what doctors are calling an immune system crash that caused a lot more nerve damage than I had even with the Lyme disease. It was, if you saw me, you might have thought I had a stroke. It was difficult for me to walk, to talk. I wasn't able to take care of myself. My family really stepped in and kind of shored me up and took care of me for quite a while. And when I was stable enough, I realized it was time to start the healing process. So my first order of business really was being able to walk again. So I went to physical therapy, and happened sort of quick, and that's kind of where running fit into all of this. I knew that incremental changes that you make just in your running, exponentially, you know, your fitness can change. So I knew it would happen, and it did happen pretty quick. In about 4 to 5 months, I went from a walker to a cane, and I use the cane still today.
Yeah.
And
Eileen?
I call her Eileen. Yeah, she's blue. Isn't that a shocker, people? But yeah, blue, and I use her today. So I was happy with that process and how the progress turned out. And then I moved to occupational therapy, which is hands. My hands were quite damaged from the crash. So I lost my fine motor, or lost a lot of my fine motor skills. And I wanted to get back to sewing. So I started therapy and realized it was kind of boring. But she also my therapist made me make some goals. So my first goal, one of my first goals was to open a Ziploc bag like 50% of the time. So I can open a Ziploc bag now about 50% of the time still.
Samina
And
says hi. Carrie says you've come so far. No,
thank you.
no problem, Candid. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
And then I started making sewing goals is what I did in my occupational therapy. My first was to be able to cut fabric with scissors. It's still quite difficult for me. I've switched to the rotary cutter, but I learned to use the scissors again. And I realized during that time that it was going to be sewing that brought me back whole again, like my body and my soul. And even if my whole body isn't going to be healed like it was before, sewing was a thing that always is like my running theme in my life. And I knew that was going to be the thing that brought me back. And so I made a bunch of sewing goals, and I decided to make a collared shirt. I said I usually that would have taken me 4 hours. It ended up taking me 14 hours. I set a timer and I did it. And although it took me 14 hours and it didn't look as good as my work before, I was so proud of it, and it felt so good to be back to that. And I could be content with where I was because I could still sew. Not as fast, not as well, um, but it was still a big part of me. And I think we all go through struggles. And if you can somehow connect to those things that make you feel most like yourself, even if it's in a different way, even if it's more slowly, or even if it's sewing garments and you can only sew bags at the time, or like if you're nursing your baby, you might not want to make yourself a bunch of blouses that fit right now because it might not fit later. But you can make a bag or make smaller projects that fit into your life. And I just want to share that we can take those things and get better and be content with where we are, even if it's in a new and very, for me, a very different place.
Sewing is magical, Carrie Kim.
It is. It is magical. It heals broken hearts, and it even helps heal some fine motor skills. So, yeah, it is pretty magical.
So, as you're sharing the story, I'm thinking there must have been a moment where you wanted to give up, but there had to be a fight of the mind, the will, to keep on going. What was that point for you?
I still have those points because there are some days that are really hard still. But there are so many people who showed up for me. My family's here every day. They've been so supportive. My husband, I can't tell you. My daughter constantly encourages me, and my son's hand is always there when there's stairs somewhere, his hand will slip into mine. And when I have girlfriends, family friends, even strangers that have helped me. And when people show up, it's just worth it to get up just for them. And I think it's people that have really kept me motivated. And I'm also realizing I don't have to be who I was. In fact, right now, I don't consider myself in recovery anymore. I am this. And I'm okay with this. And on the days that I'm not, I get back to okay with it eventually. And I don't have to be the same. I can still grow. And
I was just going to say that it just sounded like you grew into a new person that's a better version of yourself because you've matured and you've grown to accept where you're at and allow yourself to even grow more from that point.
I think we're all here to grow.
Yeah.
And in so many ways, in our relationships and, physically, knowledge and our sewing skills, that's, my favorite. But we are different. We have circumstances that make our lives different, and different can be really okay.
It is very okay to be different. It is very okay. And I agree with you. I believe you know, even though the media portrays something else, I do believe the goodness and the kindness of people out there. And I believe that we're all connected in some way. And that's why I always kind of give a kind of an intro with how how we connect, how I connect with my special guests, how we got connected, how we were introduced. Because I do believe that we're all in this together, you know, we're all in this community, and we're all connected in some way or another. So Kathy says, thanks for sharing, Diane. Very encouraging. Yes.
Kathy. See, another person that I've gotten to know because of you.
Yeah.
I've been inspired by her because of you. So
she is very inspiring.
It's our relationships.
Yeah, exactly. And see, I knew you were going to inspire and encourage people. And that's why I was, you know, I was looking forward to you coming on and sharing your story and knowing and just allowing people to know that it's okay to go through bad days, but just keep fighting and take it day by day or even hour by hour, if you have to, and get to that point where you're going to accomplish, you know, what you're set to, what you've set to accomplish that day, even if it's a small one. Because when I read your blog and you said that when you finished your collar and it took you longer, but to get to that point to even finish it, you know, took you longer, but it's okay.
It is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. Yep.
Yeah. So everyone out there, it's okay. It's okay if it takes longer.
And even if you're frustrated. Yeah.
Exactly. So Diane's here to give you the, you know, she's the prime example of don't give up. Life is going to throw its challenges at you. But thank goodness for, you know, the support of wonderful friends and family, you know, and community, strangers. You know, there's a lot of people out there with a great heart. But together we're going to get through this. Together we're going to get through this. So I always like to ask, Candid Kimberly said, thank you for sharing. It has really helped me. Oh,
helped you. Oh, I'm glad.
Thank you for leaving a comment. I'd like to conclude now. It's always, I get sad at the end, but before we conclude, like I said, please check out Diane's blog, Diane's online presence. Check her out at blue.sews. Her Instagram handle is blue.sews. Check out her patterns, follow her blog, read her inspiring stories on her blog. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to her. And what was that? I'm sorry, did you say?
Yeah, please do reach out to me.
Yes, don't hesitate to reach out to her. And I always ask my guests if they have a Bible scripture or a saying or a motto that they go by that keeps them going. On says, life is suffering, but the beauty is when the human spirit can persevere through it. Oh, yes, definitely. So what's your favorite, you know, maybe if you have a motto or scripture or saying, please feel free to share to keep this encouraged.
Couple things. I would say progress, not perfection.
That's a great one.
The progress, they can feel really good. They can help you. So and they amount to a whole lot. So that's one. But I love 1 Timothy 6:6, especially right now, which is godliness with contentment is great gain. And the word contentment is super important, especially when things can get hard. If you can stop for a minute and think about this moment right now and think, you know, I am okay if I don't worry about the future, or if I don't think about what I should have done before. If I sit in this moment and sit in some people keep gratitude journals, and that feeling gracious can help, but feeling content can really be a blessing.
So to be present and content. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, and thank you so much for being on as a special guest today, Diane. I greatly appreciate it. And, you know, thank you for inspiring us all.
Well, thank
And
you, and
encourage.
all that you do, and for reaching out. And you know, you've said before this makes you a little bit nervous, but you still do it. I love that. I love
I do. I get so nervous, but it's so, I do call, it goes away when my guest comes on. You know, when I do it by myself, I'm nervous, but when I have a special guest, I get nervous, but then when I hear their story, I get to see them. It's very calming. Beautiful, lovely. Oh, thank you guys. um, so before we let everybody go, we just want to say, you know, please give one person a call today, or, you know, connect with them, with just one person by calling them, texting them, or FaceTiming them, just to check up on someone and to make sure that they're okay. Because, you know, we're going through some interesting times right now, and we just want to make sure we take care of each other. And I love our community because I see the encouragement, the nurturing nature, and just the caring nature of everyone that joins us every week. Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing. Oh, thank you for joining us. So yes, please don't forget to just reach out to one person today through calling, texting, FaceTiming. Make sure they're okay. And again, thank you so much, Diane, for joining today. And you guys take care of yourselves, take care of each other. And so you guys have a wonderful day. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Take care.